Hello and welcome to the Villa Park podcast. Happy New Year to you all. We're back for our first live show of the year and a special one for you. Our fans forum is back and we've got a very, very, very special guest for you all the way from New York, Mr. Jack Grimes. How you doing, my friend?
Rich, thank you so much for having me. I was meeting Sam the other week. I met Martin when I was at Villa Park, and it's a pleasure to be here joining you on the Villa Park podcast.
Fantastic, mate. Well, it's great to have you on board, and we'll get into how you discovered your love for Aston Villa, what you're doing over there in New York, how you're bringing Villa fans together as we go through the show, and of course we'll get into all the latest news at Villa, talk transfers, talk Jamie Carragher and Gary Neville controversy. But first of all, Sam, Max, how are you boys doing? Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year. Happy New Year to everyone as well watching. Yeah, I'm doing all right. I'm already see some of the comments happy that I'm here. So I'm looking forward to getting into it, and it's going to be a quiet month this month with football. So you've got the winter break coming up and AFCON and Asia Cup. So we'll have lots to keep an eye on with the transfer market as well.
Yeah. Max, how are you doing, my friend?
Not too bad, thanks. Happy New Year to everybody. There's already a Watkins comment for you, Sam. So
yeah,
nothing's changed. Nothing's changed.
Nothing's changed. Nothing has changed. But let's get into the comments. So Michelle is in the house. Happy New Year, guys. Happy New Year to you. Rob as well. Happy New Year, John. Happy New Year, Villa fans. Deontay. Happy New Year, everyone. May 2024 be the year of Aston Villa. Martin says, Happy New Year, guys. Happy New Year to Sayali in the house. Happy New Year. Lewis, Happy New Year, everyone. Hi, guys, from Tom. Great to have you on board. Black Room in the house. Happy New Year. Who else have we got? Really random reviews in the house. Evening, guys. Happy New Year. Mark, Happy New Year to you, mate. And Jack in the chat as well. Look, multitasking. Look at that. We last time I checked, we were one subscriber away from 3,100. So let's tip over the edge tonight. So make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, get your comments in. Obviously, it's the fans forum. We've got a couple of things that we want to chat about, but it's your show, so you guys get in the chat with your questions for Jack, his opinions on the Villa as well, and obviously for the lads in the show as well. So make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, and get your comments in. And if you do want to become a member of the channel, hit the join button. $1.99 a month, less than a third of the cost of a pint of beer, to become an official Villa Park Pod follower. So, Jack, before we get into all the chat, let's talk you and your love for Aston Villa. Where was it born? Let educate us on how you became an Aston Villa supporter.
Yeah, thanks, Rich. So it was definitely born over here in the United States, developed a little bit on both sides of the pond, mostly over here. But, I think it was almost 15 years ago, but just a little more than 15 years ago, I'd kind of grown bored of American sports, and I never played soccer growing up past the age of 7 or 8. So I didn't have that side of the sport or that cultural connection. There wasn't a family team. My family supports lots of different teams over here, like Chicago Cubs, University of Nebraska. I grew up a big fan of the Huskers in college football and ended up going to school there. So I kind of had that family tie that I think a lot of people have with Villa or with their football club, but I didn't have a club myself. A lot of my friends played the sport and supported what you could say big clubs: Man United, Arsenal, Barca, Real Madrid, Milan, whoever. But I didn't want to do that. It seemed like it was too easy. And in retrospect, I never look back and think I should have done it differently, because it's just been amazing supporting Aston Villa. But one fateful Sunday morning, I turned on the TV, and I think it was one of the early games. So it was quite early, and it was Villa versus Everton. And I hadn't heard of these clubs. I didn't really know anything about them, obviously. Just knew it was the Premier League, and knew that I was kind of, I guess, for lack of a better phrase, in the market for a Premier League club. So when Ashley Young scored that dramatic winner right after Julian Lescott had equalized, I was like, I'm going with this club. This is an amazing name. I love these colors, and just started playing with them in in FIFA, and it went from there. So when I was studying in Berlin, I went over, saw my first Villa game. We beat West Ham 2-1. Benteke scored a penalty. Just love following Benteke. And at the time I was living in Chicago, so got in with the Chicago Villains. Those guys over here kind of showed me the ropes, taught me some of the songs early on. And even though we ended up getting relegated around those years, and it was pretty grim, I remember being at the pub, and the Villa fans were the loud ones, even though we were losing 6-0 to Liverpool on Valentine's Day. We were the ones singing at the final whistle, not any Liverpool fans to be heard. So, I obviously I don't regret the decision, especially now. Like, Villa's amazing, but through all the years, all the people I've met, either when I've been over at Villa Park, like recently I met Martin after the Luton match. I was there in October, and all the fans that I've met here. We have like a North America Villains meetup every year. These people are amazing wherever they come from. It's just great to accept them and be accepted in the global Villa family. And it's crazy to see how well we're doing these days, considering just a few years ago where we were.
Exactly, mate, and that's brilliant. That's how it works. I think a lot of people have that story where they see a game of Aston Villa, and it happens to be like a phenomenal match that you saw, but then just fall in love with the name of the club or whatever it is, and then just stick with it, which is great. You've also become synonymous or famous, shall we say, on your social media for some of your songs and the way that you kind of support the club from afar. How did that come about? How did you kind of your online persona and profile come about?
Yeah, I think it's funny because it's not like what I kind of set up my social media strategy or anything to be based around these chants. Like, there's some people that you'll see on TikTok, primarily TikTok, I guess, that have a lot of these chants where they're singing stuff all the time. But I think it's just like a part of fan culture, right? So some of them have been included. Like, I have a video about why I support Villa, and there's these old chants recorded from Snapchat, like back in the day from when we were singing. But a lot of people like them, and I think it's fun. Just like, I don't know, I think like the Diaby one really blew up. Like the Pau Torres one really blew up, but the Diaby one was hilarious because I had to jump on a meeting, and I was like, well, let me just record this. And I just seen like Fabrizio saying like Diaby is going to reject Saudi money. So I was just like, let me just put that in a case Sarah Sarah. And then next thing you know, it's like 2 million views. And I'm like, oh
Wow.
There you are. Look, Sayal is in there. Musa Diaby rejected.
yeah,
Saudi
go on
money.
the Siley, come on.
But to be honest, my son sang that around the house for about a month. So yeah, you definitely got him on that one.
Yeah, and then like this summer, I was hosting a live show to Singapore before like the summer series match in DC, and there were like kids coming up to me and singing it, and I was just like, this is just like part of football culture. It's really fun to be meeting people and interacting with them, and like these people, like it was primarily Twitter all these years ago because I started off writing mostly as a writer before started making these videos like a couple years ago, and just connecting with all these people through Twitter, through other apps. I think it's amazing to take that connection into the real world.
Yeah, I've seen that video, the Musa Diaby one. It must have been like 1 billion times on my Twitter feed, and just when you're scrolling through videos, it just comes up. I had no idea it popped up like that. Got 2 million views.
Yeah, it did some big numbers on TikTok.
That's mental.
Crazy.
That's brilliant.
Crazy.
It's a good show.
Sam, you obviously were in New York recently and met up with Jack and some of the other Villa fans. How did you find it? Because you were pretty amazed by it, to be honest, when you were telling us about the atmosphere and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I was really lucky actually to bump into Jack and the rest of the guys because if I'm being honest, I knew I was going to be in New York in December, and I knew that there was some massive games on, and I really wanted to watch it. So I just kind of went on Twitter and I typed in New York Villains, assuming that every single city or state would have its own dedicated Aston Villa fan club. And the first thing that came up was obviously the Legend bar that I ended up going to, and it's at the Empire State, which was literally like a 5-minute walk away from where I was staying at the time. And so I walked in for the Bournemouth game, not really knowing what was going on, and I think it was maybe, I think you were a little bit late, Jack, maybe 5 minutes into the
I
game.
was. Those Sunday ones are so early.
Yeah, well, for me, I've been waiting for it. I've been up since like 6 o'clock with my son, so I was like waiting for it all day. And yeah, and the Jack walked in, and and if I'm being honest, I was a bit, I'll be honest, I was a little bit skeptical of like sort of going to America, and you know, in terms of like watching the game with Villa fans out there, I didn't really know. I kind of had this misconception that um that they a wouldn't have any idea what was going on in the game, and B, that they wouldn't really be that interested in it. It would kind of be like a novelty. And that was it was a preconception that I had. But when I went out there, I couldn't believe how invested everyone is in it, and the atmosphere, and you know, everyone knows all the songs, and it's a really lovely mix of actually sort of like people from Birmingham and from England mixing and watching it with the locals there. So it's like if you're on holiday, you go and watch it there if you want to watch the game. And it was such a lovely mix. And obviously met Jack and a guy called Matt and Stephen Cohen as well. Jack, I know he sort of like helps run the New York Villains, and he was just. I remember when he saw Dean Smith, and he just absolutely buckled. Like he was so excited, and then he was saying to us, "Oh, Sam, should I? You know, you reckon I could ask for a picture?" I was like, "Go on, do it." And he was fully properly starstruck as well. And I was just, I was absolutely amazed. And obviously, you know, I got to meet Jack and his fiance out there as well. And they're just all just absolutely lovely people. It was brilliant. I think it was probably one of the best experiences of watching football I've ever had outside of Villa Park. So yeah, really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's great how we kind of have that, like you said, that mix of either expats, people that are over in New York on holiday, and people who are descendants of people born in Birmingham or around the area that have moved to the U.S., and then some people that are like the new generation, I guess, like myself, who are just new to the club without any previous connection. So it makes a really good mix.
Yeah, well, that's brilliant. I mean, Sayali there says we have an Arizona Villains chapter where she lives, and they're all mostly old men, but it's still so much fun to meet up and watch Villa games away from home. And like you said, Jack, you know, that North American meetup, the games over in the States, you know, in pre-season showed how many Villa fans there were, and I'm sure it was amazing. And obviously we did Australia before that. So and obviously as we move into kind of what we want to the other bits that we want to talk about, with Villa doing so well this season, it's only going to increase the fan base, you know, worldwide. So this is just dreamland. Max, I'll come to you first though. Let's talk the football. Um, Obviously, December it is a tough month for every team, but particularly for Villa. You know, we had the Conference League games as well in there. But to come through 14 points, I think it was from 7 Premier League games. How do you sum up that kind of period for Aston Villa?
I think it feels worse than it might have done, just because the last three games have been a bit of a nothingness, like after them kind of thing. Like the Burnley game, I was there and it was quite flat. It was felt like not felt like a win, but like there was something about it where it was a bit of a nothing performance again. It was a bit. United was just really disappointing, as the group chat found out on Boxing Day, but that matter. And then obviously Sheffield United was what it was. It was a few decisions against us and we lose.
Frustrating.
But
Yeah.
bar that, I mean, who was it? Whoever it was on Sky Sports saying that our home form's been worse or whatever it was. We've literally kept that form going. I think we still, and then we're doing what good teams tend to do and win games, but maybe not perform so well. So because even the last three games maybe haven't been great, and we've still got 4 points from 9. So it's not the end of the world. I think, especially with January now, there's plenty of. I think we definitely need some signings. One or two people. I think a DM and a striker, and I think maybe and then a right back. And I think we've got a pretty settled squad. I think it's been. I think, as I say, by these 3 games, I think it's been a pretty ideal month as a general rule.
Yeah, I mean, Jack, I'll come to you next, mate. Just with that, you know, you obviously with football supporters, we always have that kind of recency bias, like where it's, you know, you are tend to be only as good as your last game. But if you look at beating Man City, beating Arsenal, beating Brentford away from home, you know, drawing, getting a last minute draw against Bournemouth away, and you look at how Bournemouth have done since then. You have to be happy with that month of results. It can't be anything other than that.
Yeah, what did we play? 9 games in December? It was just a ridiculously congested end to the year, and I think we were stumbling across the finish line, but it felt so good to end the year with a win. Like we started the year with a win at Spurs and then ending it with a win. Just, I don't know. To me, it made it kind of the perfect end to 2023, even if we did lose United and not the best fashion and could only get the draw against Sheffield United, because yeah, you could see like both the physical fatigue and the mental fatigue, just not being as sharp, missing some of those chances that probably would have been finished easily in September or October against Burnley. But yeah, I think like getting some rest, January, the calendar clears up a little bit, maybe getting some fresh blood into the team, and why not go for the title? Like we're in the mix.
Yeah,
I know it's not like it wasn't the target at the start of the year, but you got to reassess. We're here. Why not push for it? We're gonna try to, with Unai. He doesn't draw very many games, right? Like you may as well try to win them all anyway.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, Sam, Jack's come there with the T word, the big talk there. I mean, your thoughts? I know you were pretty angry after the Man United game. I guess
Hey, what
is
happened
that
to the group chat being private, Rich? What's going on here?
sorry, sorry, but like no, I was too. Don't get me wrong, but reflecting on it, you look at the month as a whole. Again, decent results, but again, are you kind of seeing it as maybe a slight missed opportunity to really push on, or do you think, looking at the other results that other teams have had, there are going to be bumps in the road?
Yeah, of course. I mean, look, December was a strange month because we had 9 games, and what did we win? Five or six of them. And we drew a couple and drew a few and then lost one. I think I've found it. You can't argue with what Villa have been doing at the moment. We're second in the table. After 20 games, I think we're safe from relegation for this year at least.
Yeah, we got the
you know
40-point mark.
we've got the 40-point mark. But look, the numbers are absolutely incredible, and you can't argue with what Villa are doing. And I'm not going to attempt to do that at all. That being said, watching Villa for me recently has been really, really frustrating across the board. I think since Kamara got sent off, I think we've been a bit haphazard, and it's weird to say that we've been toothless, but all I remember from Villa is missed opportunities in the final third, struggling to um, break teams down, and obviously against Man United, 2-0 up against a really awful Man United side.
Yeah,
Like I think that when they played against us, it was the best they had played pretty much all season, which tends to happen against Villa. I was watching the Man United game with my sister, actually, who's a Man United fan, and I actually had to leave after 75 minutes. I just went upstairs. I watched it on my own because I just couldn't be around anyone. But I knew Hoyland was going to score. I knew
yeah,
Archer was going to score. Like all
yeah,
of these classic Villa things, and I think we mentioned it. And I'm like waiting for the Villa bubble to burst and for us to do Villa things. And I think we have done that a little bit. But then again, we're doing clutch things that Villa don't normally do, like beating Burnley. And I just feel like a lot of people are saying, "Oh, we're second in the table. How dare you complain?" And I've been saying it all season. How could you ask for any more than what we've got? Yeah, you're absolutely right. But season is such a unique situation where Arsenal have lost twice in a week. Man City haven't been playing great. Liverpool are off and on. They're losing Salah to the AFCON. We've got X, Y, and Z things. Just the stars are aligning for something mental to happen. And I don't mind if Man City go on a 20-game winning streak or 18-game winning streak for the rest of the season and win every game. But I would be absolutely gutted if Villa rule themselves out by missing opportunities, like not beating Sheffield United, who bottom of the table game we really, really should have won. Struggling. If we hadn't got that last minute winner against Burnley, we'd have been kicking ourselves. And it's actually, if you look at it, Bournemouth, Sheffield United, Burnley that we struggled against. Who else did we lose to? Drew to Wolves earlier in the season, and Nottingham Forest we
Lost
lost.
to Nottingham Forest.
Yeah, like it's really strange because these are games that you think we should be, we should be doing well at. But I'm with Jack. I'm not going to say the T word, but I think that we need to stay in this top four and stay in and around the top of the table for as long as we possibly can. Because think about it next year, boys. We could have a European trophy, winning the Conference League, and we could be playing Champions League football. And I think now anyone who says, "Oh, if you take fifth at the end of the season, it will still be a good season," for me, that's just such a defeatist attitude with like very little ambition. I just think go for it. We're doing ridiculous things here. We've got a good squad. We can go and strengthen in January. Aim high. And I think really now that the goal has changed. Anything less than Champions League from this position for me, it will be a disappointing season.
I totally agree. 42 points after 20 games. You've got to be looking at getting at least
And
35 points.
and
Yeah,
85 points in the
in a
calendar
year.
year. And
Yeah.
I put on Twitter, I said, this is fantastic. It's spread across 2 different seasons, but 85 points in the calendar year is mental, by the way. So, but if we slip and we get Europa or Europa Conference League next year, then all that, as impressive as it looks, hasn't actually amounted to anything. Do you know what I mean? There's nothing to show for it at the end. So if we come away from this season with Champions League football, all of that hard work, the incredible season that Villa have had, it'll be worth something. Do you know what I mean? And we can say, hopefully, oh well, you played great, but what did you get from it? We got Champions League football.
Yeah. Couple of comments. Sharik said, everyone who says, if you offered me at the start of the season as an excuse, equally wouldn't have taken 4 points from Sheffield United, Man U and Burnley. It works both ways. So, yeah, it's that kind of like, we can't yeah, you've got to balance it up. You've got to go for the ambition. Like now we're in this position. So there is an element of, not being accepting of sometimes these difficult results or these disappointing results. Lewis said Man U played the best they've played since Fergie. And Sayali said, we love to give free wins to teams that are struggling. I did want to come to you, Jack, on the back of that kind of situation where, we've maybe struggled through or really showed our character to get points in these last few games. Particularly against some of the teams that are battling. And look, sometimes they can be the most difficult games. But really, Random Review says it goes to show how important some of our players are. Just one or two out rocks the boat. And we've really seen whereby, Pau Torres not playing, Boubacar Kamara not playing, and potentially even Yuri Tielemans not being available has really affected the way that we've played, or been able to play the last few games.
Yeah, I mean, it's like what we saw a couple years ago when Grealish was injured. We just had no teeth attacking wise, and the squad depth has improved tremendously, especially like these past 2 summers. But Tielemans, to me, he's the key to unlocking a defense that's sitting in that low block when there's nothing going on. He can find that pass, he can open things up. Kamara, he's even the link. We've seen him on some big counterattacks. I think you guys were saying a couple minutes ago, we've looked a little toothless. And against United, the only thing we had was set pieces. That's like our secret weapon, but we still need to be able to create from open play and finish those chances. So if we have those, if we don't have that squad depth, it's really challenging. And even moving Consta to right back isn't ideal. I'd rather have him playing center back because he's even better there.
Wasted it right back. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Rich, thank you very much. Been a member now for 2 months. Up the Villa, keep the faith. I believe, mate. Debu, yes, 100%, mate, 100%. We've got to believe. And as Rich is a member, if you do want to become a member, just click the join button or the $ in the bottom corner of the chat. Follow the instructions. Just $1.99 a month to become an official Villa Park Pod follower, or you can give a super chat or get your question in. Any super chat questions, we will 100% read them out. Martin says we need top 4, otherwise mega disappointing. John says we're in the mix, we should really go for it. Dunk says team spine is now Martinez, Torres, Kamara, Tielemans, Watkins. Can't lose those players now, really. They're becoming very important. Very, very important. Max, on to kind of I guess the January fixtures, Middlesbrough in the cup coming up. I'm sure some changes will be made. Some players will be coming out. I know Emery's given the players a good rest over this week, but you're looking at Everton and Newcastle to come. What are you looking at for us to really get out of those two fixtures? They're, as I say, players will potentially have a chance to have a rest, maybe some warm weather training. We've got to be looking at 6 points.
Mm. I will say, if he makes too many changes against Middlesbrough, because I'm going, I will kick off if we lose again. I cannot be
I'll be
asked
there as well.
another cup game where I finally get an away ticket and we lose. I'm not going to be happy. But when it comes to, Everton, neither of them are. It's like there's so many teams nowadays that are. Villa are one of them that you think of like a few years ago. You think of them being an easier game. Everton are probably still not the best team, despite what their form's been recently. But Newcastle, even with all their injuries, they got like dogged by Liverpool. I think it was 7 XG Liverpool had in the end, and yet Newcastle, like watching it, Newcastle looked like they could have scored pretty much most of the time. They went forward a lot of the time. Like Gordon's a really good player. Isak, he cost 60 odd £1 million. He's a proper player. They've got a lot of good players, even with all these injuries. Lewis Miley's 16, 17. He's coming in and looks like a Premier League player. So they're not easy games at all. But I think, especially with Kamara back, hopefully Torres will be back to be able to start and stuff. I think it becomes easier. I think Newcastle at home, especially that being at home, obviously, we can right the wrong of the 5-1 at the start of the year.
Yeah.
Everton is just we always seem to beat them at the minute. It just seems like a sticky one because you never know what Everton's going to turn up at each given game.
Mm-hmm. Sam, I'm sure you will be disappointed if we don't get the full quota of 6 points from those two games.
No, quite the opposite, actually. I think those two games were really difficult. Newcastle at Villa Park last year, I think, was one of our best results, not just of the season, but ever. In terms of the atmosphere and what happened that day. But Newcastle, even with all their injuries, their quality side, they've got game changers, they've got people who can make things happen. I did read today that Trippier and Callum Wilson were injured. I don't know how long that's for, but their injury list keeps going. So you'd hope at Villa Park, maybe you could get something out of Newcastle. And Everton equally, they've been on absolute fire, scoring loads of goals. Sean Dyche is obviously. I think that points deduction might have actually been a good thing for Everton because it fired them up.
Yeah, they went on a run of I think 4 wins in a row, but I think they've lost their last 2 or 3. So they're a topsy turvy side. But I do agree, like with Dyche, you never quite know. He can get a result out of somewhere, can't he?
But I don't think this is a thing as well. I saw they won 4 on the bounce and got a draw, so they were going really well, and they beat some good teams in that as well. Newcastle, they beat Chelsea. They, I think they beat Fulham in the cup, or they lost to Fulham in the cup on penalties or something like that. And then since then, they've lost to Spurs, Man City, and Wolves, who are absolutely flying. They've
Wolves
not lost
are flying, man.
The Spurs, Man City, and Wolves are not fine. They've lost the last 3, but that doesn't make them mugs. I think, and the thing that's weird for me is when I actually look at the Everton team, I'm like, these lot of shit on paper. I'm like, I've got absolutely nothing. I don't know who's doing what for them, but they're grinding out results. So look, away at Everton, you'd hope to get something. Although, like Mike says, they've been 6 points for us every season for a while. I was actually disappointed when I thought they were going to go down last season because I was like, that's 6 points out the window. So I was a bit disappointed, but yeah, we'll see how we go with them. The only thing I will say, and sorry, Max, you're not going to like this, but I couldn't care less about the FA Cup. With what else we've got going on, I don't care. I don't play Marshall as play.
He will definitely make changes.
Yeah, play him up front. We don't need the. I know there's big gaps in between the games, but everyone has looked really leggy. Everyone's looked a bit shattered. I know Kamara's had about 3 games off, but that's still only like a week and a half. So I think I don't care about the FA Cup. I think if we focus on the league, focus on Europe, that's more than enough for us to be getting on with the size of our squad.
Yeah, Sharik agrees with you, Sam. Don't care about the FA Cup at all. I do and I don't. I'd just like us to win one game. I'd like us to get past the third round. That would just
We're
be
not going to win,
just...
though, is it? We're not going to like. Let's be honest. In the FA Cup, our odds of sorry, Mark, my bad. But I just think about it. The odds of us winning, like coming up against a Man City or a Liverpool or a cup specialist team, even Man United, every single. How many times have we got in the last decade?
Yeah, we'll end up drawing Man United away in the fourth round anyway. Yeah,
They've had what 16 home draws in the third round of the FA Cup, and not only that, I've been to about 4 cup finals in the last 10 years, and we've lost every single one of them. So I generally I would love for us to do well in the FA Cup. I just don't think this is the year for us to be focusing on it.
nah.
Not at this stage, anyway.
No, I get you, Jack. Sam and Max made a point there about, obviously we're talking about January with, a couple of games against teams, particularly Newcastle have had a lot of injuries. Villa have had quite a few injuries, and also, like we've said, looking a little bit tired, looking a little bit leggy. Do you think, this period now, some of the players can hopefully get that sharpness back, and maybe even get someone like Emi Buendia back to fitness?
Yeah, I think fitness and sharpness, they're a little bit different, because we've been looking sharp because we've been tested in all these matches, but without the Thursday, Sunday. That's the only thing that I'm thinking about in January is, do we have to play some of these guys that are in the first 11 in the cup just to make sure they're still clicking and still being tested in those match situations. But then again, I'm very relieved that we did end up topping the group in the Conference League to make sure that we avoided that extra playoff round, because that could have been exactly what we didn't need for our league form. And even for winning the Conference League, it's just good to have 2 games that we don't have to deal with, 2 more or 1 more away trip.
Yeah, agreed. A few people, I think it's generally looking at FA Cup. Really Random says he does really care about the FA Cup. Duncan says League and Europe for him. Mark said he was going to the game. Obviously, doesn't want us to get beat, but he does get your point. Really Random doesn't want to jeopardize our league place or Europe, but I still want to get a run in it. Adamski says these younger generations, FA Cup was the most important back in the
bet
day.
you're older than Adamski as well.
Tom says FA Cup is the only trophy I haven't seen us win, so let's go all the way. CC, as always, with the voice of reason, we unfortunately do not have the legs for the FA Cup. Sorry, Max, but I don't mind if he plays the B team. Sayali says I would like to see some of the youngsters play during the FA Cup. I'm pretty sure there's going to be a few changes.
What do you reckon, Rich? Go for it or not? Let's leave out the fact that you're actually going to the game.
No. It's
not objective. It's not fair.
No, I think there's no reason to not go for it, because you can get to, like, the third round's obviously this weekend. The fourth round is the 28th, I want to say. So they still get that bit of a break. So then if you win the fourth round, then you're into the last 16. You could probably get by you'd probably be around the quarter-final stage by the time the Conference League comes back.
Rich,
so I don't think there's any reason not go for
showing
it.
off your knowledge of how the FA Cup works and the rounds you go through. You start off in this round, then you go to the fourth, and if you hit you go to the round.
Well, I was just trying to think about it in my head, but I was thinking you'd be at the quarterfinals mark by the time the Conference League comes around, and at that point you go, right, do we stick or twist? Do we take it really serious and go? So I don't think there's any reason not to go for it. He will make changes, of course, but there's Middlesbrough aren't playing fantastically well at the moment. I don't think there's any reason why
they've also got the League Cup semi-final to contend with.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I don't know. I think with Emery, like, winning is just contagious. Like, once these guys now we're winners, like, you just keep it going. You just want to keep playing and keep winning. And I saw another comment, David Folks, like, midweek games is better than training. It means match fit and sharp. So, it is tougher than training, and we need some of that time off. But
if you're a player, you love winning and you love playing games. That's how it works. You don't care. You'll tell the manager, even if you're tired, I can play. So If you're a player, you're just in the habit of winning, and that's how it works.
What you don't want to see though is the injury list, the likes of Newcastle and Spurs.
Yeah,
And I'm
yeah,
not saying I want to lose the game. I'm just saying I don't want to field the first 11. So
yeah,
if we go and we beat Middlesbrough with playing I don't know, whoever's not playing, whoever's on our bench was pretty thin against Burnley, if I'm being honest. But maybe like giving John Duran a game and Tim Bonham as well. He's been sitting on the bench waiting for a game. So on and so forth. I think that's the kind of, maybe this is the kind of area where you want those really talented kids that we've been
yeah. It's a
sending
shame
out on loan.
Kellyman's injured.
Kelly Mann, imagine having
Yeah,
Bidace, being able to throw
yeah,
Bidace on, out for a game like this. Who was it? Finazaz, the goal he scored for Plymouth recently. Was it yesterday? Absolutely ridiculous. Like, I think there's a place for playing your youngsters, and I know they're increasing their value out on loan and stuff like that. Uh, and furthering their own careers as well. It's selfish to kind of have them wasting away on the bench, but yeah, I'd like to see a second 11 play, and if we do progress, say we get into the round of 16 or the last eight, the quarterfinals, and yeah, then go for it. But I think until then, just prioritize the other ones we've got.
absolutely. Really Random says we've got 80 watching, which is correct. I think we've had over 80 watching at one point, but we've only got 14 likes. So, guys, make sure you smash the like button. Help us to spread the word of the channel. It really does help when you hit that like button. So let's get up to 50 likes at the moment, and we've been getting well over 100 on many of the videos. So. Yeah, no reason why we can't do that today. And please do hit that subscribe button as well to help continue to grow. So I've loads of comments coming through, but we will move on to just January, I guess. Obviously, it's transfer window season. Let's go through. I mean, the talk is right back, striker, goalkeeper, midfielder. Are we all in agreement around those areas?
Goalkeeper.
Right back is the
Yeah,
first one.
yeah.
If I have to watch Diego Carlos play centre back anymore, I'm gonna fucking kill myself, boys. Honestly,
Right. Let's start with you, Sam. Let's start with you, Sam.
that game against those last 10 minutes against Burnley when we were 2-2 chasing the game, and this donkey is jumping it out. It took him about 10 minutes to get from the edge of the box to the halfway line. I was screaming. I actually scared my son. My son started crying because I was just screaming, like, pass the ball, do something. He wouldn't do. I think in reality, Diego Carlos is actually a really good player. I think he's a bit of a liability. Could have given away a handball, a couple of cheeky elbows. I think he's been really lucky. He's not been punished so far this season. He reminds me of Romero at Tottenham. But I'm much more comfortable with Pau Torres and Ezri Konsa at centre back. They complement each other beautifully. Just Ezri Konsa, some of the stats I've been seeing about him recently: most minutes played in the Premier League in the year, the highest rated centre back in all of Europe's 5 leagues in terms of percentage of duels won, percentage of how little he's been dribbled past, his aerial duels. He's literally, stats wise, Ezri Konsa is one of the best centre backs, if not the best centre back in Europe. You can't be playing him right back. And obviously, Matty Cash, everyone has their own opinion about it. For me, I don't think Matty Cash is up to scratch. That's just my opinion. I just don't think he's at the level that we need to
No.
be at. So
Yeah, I think everyone sees he's a wholehearted player. He gives everything, but there are limitations to his game, and that's clear for everyone to see. Like
I mean, does he start for any other top 4 Premier League team?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
He's very useful. He can play a little further forward. He gives us those options, but he's not a every game guaranteed starter for a top 4 club.
So Jack, where do you go with this then? Because obviously the Konsa Pau Torres centre back partnership is and should be the number one. Carlos in for certain games, but do you go right back as a new first choice right back, or do you go right back for someone to potentially challenge Cash?
I think it's the same thing we saw with a Luka Dean situation and Alex Moreno coming in. Alex Moreno's not always better than Luka Dean. Sometimes he is. Sometimes, like, Luka Dean has been in amazing form lately, but he's someone that challenges him and to me, they're almost like 1A and 1B. So somebody who comes in and can push cash, and it's going to take a little bit to get tactically up to scratch for what Unai needs you to do. So someone who can kick on and potentially be an upgrade. I think there's not anyone who's going to sell you a top 4 quality right back right now because they need their right back. So that's what makes the situation very difficult.
Yeah. Max, on the grapevine and in the Villa forums on your website, have you been seeing any rumours about right backs that we're potentially interested in?
There's not really been anything to do with right backs. I really want Jeremy Frimpong. I don't think we'll get him just because of how well Bayer Leverkusen are doing. But if we could have anyone just cherry pick the market,
Can I give you a stat about Jeremy Frimpong, Max?
That you can.
He's played 20 games this season. 18 of them have been at right mid, and only 2 have been at right back.
Yeah, I know, but I just like you.
But who does that sound? Does that sound familiar at all?
Yeah, but I think he's probably a bit better than Matty Cash.
He's infinitely better. But my concern is he's not playing right back.
Yeah,
he's like, it's in Unai's system. You want that from the left back, not from the right back.
No, I just like the idea. There's one
I'd
for
love to get him, Max. By the way,
yeah, I was going to say one point.
Yeah, no, I think I know he's how. I think just as a point of difference as well. I think it just sometimes it can be a bit predictable to play that with one side being the offensive side and one side being the defensive side to an extent. But the only other real talk's been strikers at the minute, because there's Duran being linked to Milan, but that's not likely until they need to sell a non-EU player before they can bring him in.
I don't think
if they
they'll be
wanted
able
to. So that can't.
it.
So, who?
Milan, because we bought him for 20 odd million. They need to spend at least 30 to get him off us.
Yeah.
And
So
Italian clubs don't really spend like that on youth anymore, do they?
No. And then the other one we were linked to a striker from Genoa called Goodmanson.
Yeah, Goodmanson. And then there's a lad from Verona. I featured him the other day on
I'm not going to try
transfer
and say
talk. Yeah.
Was it 10 million? I think the rumor is that we've agreed 10 million euros for him.
Yeah, that's yeah. He can play right side or through the middle, and I mean that kind of fits the profile, doesn't it, of what Emery wanted in terms of a more kind of what's the word, flexible player that can play in different areas, but unproven.
The problem is that you're going to have to bring in someone. I was just about to say that, Rich, actually, to cater to Ollie Watkins. Everyone talks about Ollie Watkins needing to know he's number one and how much he struggled when Danny Ings was there. I mean, if it was up to me, you'd get in another top quality. My ideal scenario is to have an Isaac Wilson situation where you've got 2 quality strikers who do very different things, and you can chop and change depending on what the game needs. And even if that means moving Ollie Watkins out, he's getting a lot of assists this year, or playing him as a second striker. But if you just bring in someone else who's exactly like Duran and not ready, then just keep Duran. Like, what's the difference?
Yeah, I just wonder if, I don't know if that you agree the same, Jack, but whether something is going on slightly behind the scenes with Duran. Like, there's been a few times where Emery has tried to put the arm around him. There's been sometimes where he's criticised him in sort of post-match press conferences or pre-match press conferences. There's rumours from journalists saying that there's been arguments at training where he snaps back at what some of the coaches say. I just wonder if Emery's maybe just washed his hands of him slightly.
Yeah, and he was never Unai and Monchi in their signing. He was a Johan Lange scouting. They'd been scouting him for a long time, I think even before Emery joined. So from the old sporting director, I guess, regime. But I mean, that's what I'm thinking. And, Duran is very fiery. We see him come on. He's an agent of chaos. He's either scoring, elbowing someone in the face, getting a yellow, or shooting from 40 yards. So, he's a little bit of a wild card. And I think Unai wants these players who are moldable and who he can make him predictable and fit into the system when he's a little bit individualistic sometimes.
Yes.
He brings that spark, though. He got us the win against Burnley. If he's not going crazy, we're not winning the penalty. He did that. He
Absolutely.
ignited the comeback against Palace. But it's
Yeah,
ultimately it's up to those guys.
it's just he
Maybe
doesn't.
Unai just wants him to get a little more maturity out on loan somewhere and then bring him back. Like, it's hard to completely know what's going on.
Yeah,
I think it's
I
worth
would say
saying.
that's the
Oh,
case, and I
sorry,
would
Rich.
say that. Sorry, mate. He doesn't seem to be like if he was that, and sometimes it's quite a good thing that he is ambitious and he wants to play, he wants to be the first choice. But you know, if he was kind of like accepting, not necessarily happy with being that player that comes on and gives a spark, but if he was accepting of that role as to where he is in his experience and he's a Premier League player and he's getting involved in that kind of way, if he was happy to be accepting that, then that would be fine. But he doesn't seem to be like he always wants more, and it's almost like he's going over, like stepping over that line to like be having to go at the manager or having to go at the coaches and stuff to kind of say, well, I deserve to be playing, I deserve to be starting. But it's like, look, you've got to do your time. You've got to know where you are at the moment. You're a young player. You're in a team. You're coming on in games where you are, you're affecting games. You're helping us get to second league. Just be happy with that. Like, you're going to get minutes. You're going to get games, but he just
I don't
doesn't
think
seem to be.
I don't think that's the right attitude you want. You've got players
No,
like
I don't
Cole
want it.
Palmer
As
at
I said, I don't
19
want
who are
someone to be happy with it, but just to be.
But
Let-
not
Like,
lashing out at the coach and throwing a
yes,
fit if
yeah,
it doesn't happen.
yeah.
I said this when all those rumors were coming out about Tielemans, about him be the descent and X, Y, and Z. And I said on this podcast, I was like, look, we haven't seen anything. Like, these are rumors that are flying around here and there. I've not seen. It's not like Unai Emery's come out and said,
No, of
oh,
course not.
Duran's had a discipline issue, or the club haven't taken any action. We've not seen anything. I think it's harsh to and probably not wise to take a look at these rumors and just assume that he's a bad kid. Because every single time he comes on, he absolutely runs his socks off. His attitude on the pitch, which is sort of almost my biggest concern. I've never had a question with, like, against Burnley when he came on. He was running and flying into everything, and he brought
And
a different
I
energy
would
to the
like us to
game.
use him more sometimes. I think bring him on earlier, like do it earlier. Like that's not an argument.
But so here's a question, and I've seen it. I can see it in the comments a lot, and obviously this is what I was saying for about 2 years. But is John Duran a better option than having Archer on the bench? And let me remind you, Cameron Archer got one chance against us when we played Sheffield United, and he buried it. Would it not have been better to just keep Cameron Archer instead of spending 20 million on Duran and then selling Cameron Archer for 20 million? Would it not be better to just keep Cameron Archer?
Yeah, but it's like
Homegrown.
it's the weird finances of selling a youth player that you can take it all in one season and balance your books versus Duran will split his purchase over the 4 years of his contract.
Fine.
So
Okay. Maybe.
it's some weird math, but I agree with you. Like if it was a 20 for 20, like what's the difference? I'd rather have one of our own youth players, especially
From a
with
footballing perspective, I mean, the business side of it, Jack, that sounds pretty accurate, and I can't argue with that. But would it not have just been better to keep Cameron Archer from a footballing perspective? Because now, if we go
yeah,
and buy that,
he's grown up at the club,
I
knows the
think they
team, and
yeah. I think they both have something different to offer. I think you wouldn't get the chaos that John Duran brings with if you brought on a Cameron Archer, but you get a fox in the box. You get someone who, if you put the ball in and it drops off or it bounces off someone, he's gonna have a shot and probably inevitably finish it. So I think in an ideal world you have both of them because you've got two different options that you can bring off the bench to kind of change a game for
He
you.
must have wanted to leave, surely, because that's the only reason I can see.
Cameron Archer, he literally said it the other day. He's like, can't wait to come back to Villa Park after he scored the goal against us. But let me ask you a question, actually, all of you. Rich, you just mentioned this, so maybe it's a good time to ask a question. You said, oh, sometimes you need a bit of anarchy, so you can bring that on. Have you noticed how absolutely manic our games have been recently, and how after every single one, whoever we've just played, their fan base hates us with a passion. We're like the new, hey, but it's only after we play them. Like, we are everyone that we've played in the last month or so absolutely hates Arsenal fans. I mean, we are just absolutely grinding on them to no end. But Brentford on Twitter, I see the Brentford guy still going at it, talking about Neil Mapai, how now he could have died when Martinez picked him up. We are causing absolute havoc every single time we play a game, and it's kind of contributed to it. With like the Kamara sending off, and so many yellow cards in that Brentford game, and even since there was like quite a few yellow cards. As Jacob Ramsey got one the other day for screaming at the ref, and it just all seems a bit mental. I don't know if you kind of want someone to calm it down a little bit, or if this is really good for us. I can't work it out.
Yeah, I agree. I think some of it's great, and some of it is that we're upsetting the apple cart. I think Newcastle kind of had it last season, particularly at St James's Park, where lots of they were Arsenal fans hated it when they went there and they had a tough game. I think Liverpool same. I think because we're up there and we're not kind of going anywhere, it's like we're showing what we're made of. I do think there's an element of I guess when players are a bit fatigued and stuff, that things start to get on your goat a little bit, and there's maybe a little bit of over emotionality in there. But
Yeah,
yeah,
like
I agree.
Konsa's yellow card seemed very uncharacteristic from him.
Yeah, yeah.
He was bang on as well. Did you see what he was arguing about? There was
Yeah.
a corner. The ball went out, and it literally hits the Burnley centre back on his back and goes out. Ezri Konsa's not like within a meter of it, and he just goes absolutely nuts.
I'm
It's
convinced the ref nodded his head at that and said, was agreeing that it wasn't a corner, but had to give it anyway or something like that. He was like, the ref's going up this afterwards or something like that. I remember
he's like,
seeing
calm
that.
down, Ezri. I've got a bet on. Just
Yeah, corners.
me and Zaniola were doing bets back in the back in the changing room.
And I think part of it as well is you look at that Man City game, the atmosphere. You look at the Arsenal game, the atmosphere. And I know it was a little bit flat against Burnley at times, but the Brentford game atmosphere in the away end was brilliant. Like I think as a supporter base as well, we're getting that kind of not quite intimidation yet, but we're getting that that feeling that we believe. It's taken a while, but even when we go behind in games now, there's an element of that kind of just continued belief that we're going to get back into it, which again does rub teams up the wrong way. When you're getting late winners against teams, when you're getting late goals against teams, they're going to be pissed off. Opposition fans are going to be pissed off, and yeah,
I think we have had the rub of the green, though, from being honest, from
oh
some
yeah.
quite a few refereeing decisions this year, and I know this is really easy to say.
Other than Sheffield United.
I get other than Sheffield United when we were down really bad, but I reckon if Kamara doesn't get sent off against Sheffield United, against Brentford, I reckon we beat Sheffield United. I reckon we beat Man United. And obviously, I think the result against Burnley would have been the same. I know that's easy to say, but how much we've missed him, and even like players like Dougie, who there's no question about anymore, he's proved just how much class he's got. I think he struggled without having Kamara there. John McGinn's in a less useful role because he's playing deeper, trying to cover what Kamara does, and to be honest, he's just not as good at it as Kamara.
Yeah, it just doesn't
is.
make the most of his skill set. It's just about maximizing it. Like, he can do it, but we lose a little bit.
But I don't think he even does it as well as Kamara. So I feel like
No.
I reckon that might be a big turning point. Say we miss out on the top four by like 4 points or 3 points. I reckon you could look back to this part of the season. It's very easy to say, oh, well, what if? But that was a really, really stupid red card to be out for 3 games in such a crucial period as well. Yeah, I think it's a shame. Sometimes I think, even though we got a yellow card in that Brentford scrap, I don't know what he did, but I feel like maybe Guinea needs to be able to calm it down when it's boiling over, because we don't have the sort of depth to do that again.
Yeah, yeah. Jack. So we look if potentially this bid has been accepted for this guy Cyril Ngongi, as I've seen from Verona. Do you think there's more to be done? I know managers, clubs really keep their cards close to their chest with regards to January because they don't want to be, ripped off in the market. But do you really think that forward and that right back option are the real priorities? And if so, do you think that is enough for us to kind of really maintain our push?
Yeah, I wonder how much we have to sell to buy, not necessarily for the money, but for the squad registration and to be able to make sure we have the right quota of homegrown players or whatever. Because Chambers doesn't play very much, but he is English, so helps us out there. So yeah, it's hard, and I wonder how much of a revolving door it's kind of gonna have to be.
Who's that?
It wasn't me actually. I thought I'd let Jack off the hook since it was his first time and make it look like it was me.
That's the perils of live broadcasting. But yeah, sorry, Jack.
Yeah, no, that's all I had to say. Is like, I wonder how much of a revolving door it will have to be in order for business to happen.
Yeah. Well, Max, that's the thing as well. You've got like, Bertrand Traore, Den Donker, Callum Chambers, Timmy Igbanum. I mean, do you see a number of those people, a number of those players coming out or being released?
I mean, it's not so much of them being let go; it's if anyone wants them, really. Especially like Traore and Chambers. I'm not sure there's a big line of clubs coming knocking on Ernie Emery's door asking for either of them to. I don't know. I think that makes sense to be let go because they're not playing at all. I think unless we bring in another DM, then I think Den Donker's pretty serviceable, as I've made my opinion clear many times. But
if you're looking at someone to sell, he's probably the one out of. I mean, maybe Tim, maybe, but he hasn't really featured at all this season. So you're looking at a championship club, but maybe Den Donker. I don't know. Like
I just don't know where. That's what I mean. But he's another one who I think's probably good enough as a squad player for them, like for the here and now. But I also don't know who comes in for him really. I think Wolves has been linked to like re-signing him maybe and stuff like that. But we're not consider what we bought him for 13 million, I think. So you're not looking at much closer than 5 or 6 maybe. I don't really know how much. It's hard to say because the market for these expensive players is so ludicrous at the minute. But then it's not really changed for these kind of like bit part players and stuff like that. So it's hard to put a thing on it. I think the sales are more going to be for fitting other people in because I don't think we can have so many players. But I mean, I still think I know we probably need an attacking player, but we have so many. Like considering Zaniolo,
yeah, and like Buendia is going to to maybe mid-February at the
Zaniolo
maybe
can't
March.
get a game at the minute, and then there's obviously Duran can't get a game. There's all these players, and then there's Bailey who's in the best form of his life and is just undroppable. And then there's Diaby who's at the minute. He's a bit. I feel like he looks good on the ball, but seems to be missing that.
Oh, those chances he missed against
Burnley,
man.
Yeah, it's just something. There's something going. There's something like I know
he's
he
a little
scored.
bit in no man's land. Yeah,
it's kind of a bit. He always looks like there's something about him on the ball. He gets on the ball when you think something's going to happen, but then at the minute he's kind of just. I don't know what I can't even. It's not like a tangible thing. It's like a.
Well, I think you're right, Max. I reckon in numbers we're kind of doing all right across that midfield and attacking area, but I reckon players with where we're at and what we're trying to do, if certain players, if they're not performing, I'll give you an example. Say Jacob Ramsey, he missed an absolute sitter as well against Burnley. I love JJ. Like, don't get me wrong. I've been saying for a long time in this pod that I think he's special and he's got talent and he's got the ability to go right to the very top, better than Jack was at his age. Blah 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 blah. But I honestly think he needs to start doing something now. I mean, like really taking control of a game. And if he's not taking control of the game in the middle, then he needs to be driving. And if he's not driving, he needs to be assisting and scoring. I think right now he's kind of in no man's land. And I don't know what he's offering to the team. So you can say, oh, well, we don't need another left mid or another centre mid on the left side because we've got JJ. Well, unless JJ's going to step up and really start contributing to this team, then he needs to move aside for someone else who will.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. We were starting to see, particularly in that second half. I know he missed that great chance, but we're starting to see him picking up the ball in those little areas and getting the ball on the half turn, which we haven't seen for a long time from Ramsey. So, hopefully that is a sign of things to come. Quick one on this before we move on to a slightly different subject and then get into questions from other questions from the audience. But Sam, Finn Azaz is getting quite a lot of attention, and a lot of people in the chat talking about him. Do you see anyone like recalling him? Do you see us potentially recalling a Kane Kester Hayden as well? Like, you know, any other lone player, you know, getting recalled? I know Lamar Bogart's been recalled, but he's going to go to a championship club. But, you know, particularly Finn Azaz, he seems to be getting a lot of attention.
No, I don't see it, if I'm being honest. I mean, I absolutely love Unai Emery, and I wouldn't change him for the world. I set a place for him at dinner on Christmas just in case he came. Like, I love him that much. He's not the most attracted to playing young players that I've ever seen a Villa manager be, though, if I'm being honest.
No, he's not. No.
He's not. He's kind of like, he's found all of our little wonder kids that we were all gassed about for about 3 years, and he's like, all right, fuck them off. Let me bring in some of these people. So I can't see him bringing Finn Azaz back from Plymouth Argyle and, you know, really putting him in competition with Duran or Watkins. I feel like there's an element of a lack of meritocracy at Villa when it comes to the youth players. I think Philogene is a perfect example, because do you remember him in pre-season? Oh my God, scintillating form. And I was convinced he was going to stay, and then we sold him to Hull for 5 million, and then he's done absolute bits there. And I wonder, obviously, again, you can't complain we're second in the league, but you do wonder if we'd have kept Philogene Bidace, would he have done something? Would he have contributed to this? Would we have been a couple points better off, or 1 point better off, or, you know, because he just offers something so different, and he's absolutely tearing the championship up. So I can't see him bringing any youth players into this. I think that the most realistic thing is he's gonna go and buy the players. I saw a tweet saying that Dybala is available for 13 million, and let's be honest, half of us would cream our pants if he comes. So I'm there. If Dybala's going to come in, then absolutely. But if not, then I personally would be more than happy with Finn Azaz coming in and getting a little run out. But I don't think he would play.
Yeah,
his stats have been insane, by the way.
Which one?
His stats have been ridiculous this season.
I saw it.
I don't know if any you know what FB ref is.
Yeah,
of course.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at his FB ref, he's in the 99 percentile for like
Everything.
8 or 9 stats. It's
like all the attacking ones, right? Like I saw a tweet that was like, would you take this player at Villa? Oh wait, we already have him.
Yeah. I saw that tweet, and it was like, here's the catch. He's already a Villa player. I agree.
I think it's like you got to have the summer to prove it and spend time with the manager and with all the guys, and maybe he'll be in the picture for next year.
Yeah. Sarko says that they're comparing him with the lower 14 leagues, not the top 5, though. So
yeah, it's still, that doesn't make it any less impressive, though. Considering this quality of player that comes out of the Championship nowadays.
That's still what, like the Dutch league, the Turkish league, the Belgian league, like MLS, all of those next tier competitions.
I don't think it's like the Turkish league. I think the refs are perfectly safe in the Championship right now. Sorry, that was a low blow. Sorry, Turkish league.
Right, just to finish up, last couple of subjects. We had a bit of a social media storm last night when Monday Night Football announced their best players of 2023. And there wasn't one single Aston Villa player named in the best 11. Although the manager of the year was named as Unai Emery. We mentioned this backstage, Jack. What were your thoughts on it? Like, in terms of did you think at least 1 or 2 Villa players could have been included in the Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher's best 11s?
Yeah, I mean, I don't envy those guys at all, because that's a really tricky task. That's always going to be fairly incendiary on social media, of course. But I mean, again, it's like, are you looking at form just for 2023, or like some of those people are saying, oh no, Rodri's a better player than John McGinn, and yeah, maybe he is, but who's been better this year? Who's been better in the time frame? And it's all very subjective judging. Like, Carragher is going to put in Liverpool guys, and Neville's going to try to put in United guys.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, everyone's in the chat like not too happy about it. Weston said he doesn't care, he doesn't give a shite about the mainstream sports media.
I think Watkins could have been in there over Bowen, probably.
Jared
for me.
Was in there.
but he's
I
been
can't-
He's
so
he's
good.
the third
Jared
most
Bowen.
goal contributions
I can't
behind
believe
Salah
it.
and
Jared Bowen's
Haaland.
been quality.
Yeah.
You can't be mad at that.
Yeah,
No,
but Jared
Of
Bowen,
all the
Bowen's
ones
been
to
Jared
pick,
Bowen,
you picked the player who's been absolutely sensational all
Jared
season.
Bowen ain't a striker.
my argument. I mean,
Even more
Gaz,
impressive.
Gaz says Cole Palmer is a joke. I mean, that
No,
was
Cole Palmer was. He's been honestly Cole Palmer. If you've actually watched him play this season, you have any idea how impressive he's been? Go into a
He's
new
holding
club.
Chelsea together.
Oh,
he is he is.
absolutely.
They're 10th in the table, right? They're still. He didn't get a start until like, I mean, he came on against Villa and he looked really good, and then after that he started playing. Like, they wouldn't play him at first.
Yeah, for a
Like,
couple of games because they had to sand him out. But Rich, did you see that goal that he scored
oh, it was
this
a lovely goal
weekend?
against
Mate, I
Luton.
turned my
Yeah,
TV off. I was like, I'm
yeah,
not going to see anything better than that. Turn it off. I was like,
yeah. But
absolutely, that little ball
come
rolls.
on,
No, come on,
like,
Rich. Cole Palmer for his
he
age and
doesn't
his
deserve to
contribution.
be in the best player of 2023. Come on.
No,
Yeah,
no,
I'd maybe put
for
him
the
as young
season.
player of the year so far.
I
Yeah.
think for the
But
season, for this
yeah,
2023 2024 season, I'm not mad. Look, I agree. I think you definitely you put Emi Martinez in there. He's got he's got the Yashin trophy. He's the best goalkeeper in the world right now. And you know, for him not to be in there is absolutely mental. With Villa where they are, he's made some really clutch saves. You put Emi Martinez in there. Ollie Watkins' numbers with assists and goals, can't argue with that. Douglas Luiz again, he's got a lot of penalties. He's been playing some fantastic stuff. Kamara, you could put McGinn, how important he's been.
Esri
But
Konsa, you gave
Ezri,
all the stats before.
Ezri Konsa, you could even say about Digne. I think,
Leon Bailey.
but do you know what I think it is with Villa? I think we are more than the sum of our parts. I think in terms of like individual players, you know, every single one of those players on that list, when you look and the argument you said Carroll was making was, well, it came down to, well, is he a better player? And you say, okay, well, is Haaland a better player than Watkins? Like, yeah, okay, fine. The answer is yes. But I think we're more than the sum of our parts. We are these players who are performing at a really high level, but we're also the coaching and the system and the fans and the club, and we are a collective, and we're succeeding as a collective. And let's be honest, we've always had we've been on first on Match of the Day like a couple of times now, and we're expecting fair treatment from the media. It's not going to happen. You know, I'm sure that there are other teams outside the top six who are equally annoyed that they don't have a player in there. That's all
Yeah,
West
yeah,
Ham and
yeah.
Paqueta and X, Y, and Z. But what I would say
It's just we're
is,
second in the league.
no, I
That's
agree. Okay,
that's
but
the point.
fine.
Like,
Take.
if Chelsea was second in the league, 5 of their players would have been in there.
Okay, so let me ask you this then. And I will put it in the chat as well. If I say to you what his team of the season was, you tell me which players you would change. So you got Vicario, Trent, Saliba, Van Dijk, Udogie, Palmer, Rice, Silva, Salah, Bowen, and Son. That was
I
his
wouldn't
team.
have Palmer in there.
Louise and Watkins.
Louise and Watkins for you, Max. Jack,
Who was the front players?
Bowen, Salah, and Son. I mean, you're not arguing with Son. You're not arguing with Salah.
Not I
Maybe
was
Bowen.
Son. I mean, Liverpool fans have been quite critical of Salah this season. They're saying like he's got the goals, but he doesn't bring it too much
Well,
else to
they're
the
top of the league, and
table.
he's a top scorer in the league. I reckon
Yeah,
you give him a break, right?
yeah. I don't think they're ever going to be
yeah,
happy if they're
yeah.
if they're not.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd probably have Watkins in over Bowen. There's a conversation there. You'd have to have Louise in there somewhere. And I mean, Udogie, yes, Tottenham have got this way of,
But
like,
you're not
obviously
seriously
that.
saying that Luca Dean should be the best left back of the season for for this team, even if it's not Udogie, isn't it? Is it? I don't know.
Has
Maybe
he
you are.
or has Luka Dean played any worse than Udogie this season?
Oh, I think Luca Dean's been better, but I mean, like, it's such small. Like, he's been really impressive, Udogie. Like, considering again his age if you put it into context, I think he's been really really impressive. I'd take out Vicario. I'd put in Martinez, Trent. You never know. I don't even think he's a right back. I don't know why he's
Yeah,
there.
get cash
But
in.
you wouldn't put Matty Cash there.
No, no.
Centre back Van Dijk. You're never going to argue with Van Dijk. He's always
Sharik agrees with you.
yeah. And
I
then
mean, maybe we are a team, but I just felt like they were flip flopping. They were saying at one point they were saying that so and so's playing brilliantly in 2023, and then in the other point they were saying so and so is a better
I,
player.
I,
Like Rodri's missed quite a few games this season,
he has, he
so
should be there, but he's
has
not in that team.
should
To be
he
fair,
be in the best player for 2023?
he's not in that team. To be fair, he's in Gary Neville's one, which was equally equally shocking, but he didn't respond to it. The reason Carragher's is the one that's being pushed is because he's trying
Yeah,
to himself on Twitter. But I'll give you an even more ridiculous one. Chris Sutton this season was asked who his top 5 managers were. Across all the Championship leagues, the EFL and the Premier League, he put Unai Emery second. I won't tell you the whole list, but first he put Ange Postecoglou.
well, this is
Someone,
what I'm saying.
no, but
None of these pundits
that
know
for me
any
was
other
more
league,
annoying.
any other area outside of London.
But
They don't. They just don't care in the Premier League. They don't
yeah,
care.
but you've got to remember that Ange says mate at really interesting times, and it makes him really likable.
Oh yeah, sorry, I
Yeah,
forgot that.
no, but this is the thing. It's all bullshit, and let's be honest. I think there is, and we've mentioned this before. I think Villa fans are looking for some validation somewhere. I think we
Yes.
just want to hear someone say, "Do you know what? These lot are absolutely massive." Um, but I've got some bad news for everyone. I don't think it's going to
No
happen
one's going to
anytime.
do it.
Mate, we could win the league, and they could say, "What a
They'll just
season by
say,
Arsenal!
you know
What
what'll
a
happen?
season Arsenal have
Yeah,
had!"
Villa will win the league, and they'll say, "Oh, it's because the other
Yeah, yeah,
teams
yeah.
dropped off."
I've heard this week. Oh, Man City just don't have the motivation. Look, they've got 5 trophies in front of them. If Man City actually wanted to, they'd walk this league, and it's like, and even now we're talking about the title. And again, we're not talking about it, but the pundits are. And I've seen a graphic where they're doing analysis on the title, and they've got Arsenal, Liverpool, Man City, and Man United. And I was like, hold on a second, Man United like 7th. I was like, what's going on
They
there?
just ignore that Villa are in second position in the league. They just completely ignore it. But
I'm
look,
sorry, boys.
that's
No
how
one
it's going to be.
cares.
Yeah,
Apart from
that's how
us,
it's
no
going to
one
be.
cares. We've got to come to
Yeah.
grips with that.
Yeah. Just before we finish up, Jack, just your general thoughts on the season for Villa so far, and what you're excited for 2024, mate.
Yeah, I mean, I think 2023 was the most amazing year following Villa in a long time for everyone. So let's just keep it going and roll on and keep enjoying it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Max, Sam, you boys excited for 2024?
I mean, it's like Jack said, it's not very often you come into a year quite excited about what's to come. So I think just gotta keep being positive about things. I think as much as as I say before, the last 3 games have been a bit but the year as a whole was pretty mental as a general rule. Just I mean, there's so many things. Looking back, you've got like the Newcastle game, you've got Brighton to get Europe, and then Brighton 6-1, then West Ham 4-1, Man City, Arsenal. Got so many things from last year. So if we
We
can
beat
even
Spurs 3 times.
if we can do even if we can replicate like part of that, then it's going to be a great year again.
Yeah, yeah. Gas said he's not excited for 2024. The only way is down. But I think you summed it up before, Sam, where you just said like now we're in this position. We've really just got to go for it, haven't we?
Yeah, I think I've got high expectations. I'm keeping Unai Emery's he's instilled a higher level of expectation and responsibility in the players. He's said very clearly, we're not in a race for the title. But I heard Leon Bailey talking about, and a couple of other players behind closed doors. Unai Emery is telling them, boys, we got something here. Like, I know this because multiple players have said it, and they kind of slipped. So you know what footballers are like; they forget their media training, and Unai Emery's all cool. 39 points. He does this thing that he does, but yeah, stroking his chin. But no, I think it's a year that's going to be a really tough watch. I think there's going to be a lot of last minute goals. I think there's going to be a lot of blood pressure going up and down. I think I'm going to absolutely lose my shit in the group chat and denounce everyone and everything, as I've done about 4 times in the last week. But I mean, this is what you become a football fan for, to compete at the top, at the highest, with all this pressure. And just imagine, just think about it. We might do something special. We might win a European Cup and get in a Champions League place. And in my lifetime, I don't think I will have seen a better result if we do that. So that's what I'm hoping for. That's what my goal is. I don't know if I say it's what I'm expecting, but I think that should be the goal for all of us. And we need to back the boys, back Unai Emery, and make sure that Villa Park is as loud as it's ever been for the second half of this season.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, boys, for jumping on the fans forum. Thank you for all everyone who's watching, your comments and questions. Make sure, guys, you smash the like button and subscribe. If you're new to the channel, we do the fans forum every week, and we hope to get guests on every month or so to kind of add to it. And Jack, you've been a fantastic guest on this fans forum, so thank you so much for
Incredible.
giving
Thank
up
you,
your
mate.
time, mate. Thank you so much, and for the work you do over in the north, over in the North American Aston Villa fans is tremendous, mate. And keep those songs coming, keep those chants coming as well, mate.
Thanks,
Guys,
guys.
thank.
It was a pleasure joining you. I'd love to come back sometime.
Yeah,
And thanks everyone in the
anytime, mate.
comments. Great to see all of you. Great to connect.
What a legend.
Anytime, mate. Anytime. You're more than welcome. Everyone, thank you so much in the chat. Thank you all for watching. We will be back with a match preview for the Middlesbrough game coming up this week. Match reaction, obviously, talking tactics, the usual stuff. And if any transfer news, any transfer rumour roundup, then please look out for that, because I will be jumping on and doing a quick videos for that. So make sure you stick with the channel. Hit the like button, as I said before. Hit the subscribe button. And as always, remember, we all follow the Villa. Thanks, everyone.